Russell Westbrook is on one of the worst contracts in the NBA. He's a playoff loser earning $44 million a year. That is a horrible situation, but that actually makes him really easy to trade for. There are some desperate teams out there who might believe in the Russell Westbrook lie. This man puts up stats, maybe it'll translate to wins for us. That hasn't happened so far, but I think some teams can talk themselves into it. This video drops the top 5 Russ trades, because honestly, a first ballot Hall of Famer is never this cheap to get. Yo, it's Casey, this is AM Hoops. Hit subscribe for 5 videos per week, always dropping at 5 Eastern. You'll be entertained all week long, promise. And you'll be a smarter NBA fan if you go down to the description and sign up for the free email club. And what we do is we drop little nuggets about how the NBA works. And right now we're counting down the top 5 salary cap questions. Number 5 is the poison pill contract. It sounds confusing, but we make it real simple. Russell Westbrook is a problem. I don't mean that as a compliment. For people still just mesmerized by his triple doubles, here is why any contender might not want him. Russ is basically an over-dribbler without a three-point shot. That means that defenses sag off him, begging him to take a 3, which he usually misses. When he doesn't have the ball, Russ really isn't a threat. He never mastered off-ball movement, so the other team can double whoever has the ball instead. This number made me go,
Things that make you go,
Russ is one of 2 guys ever to have a usage rate over 40% in a season. One is James Harden, the other Russ. At least Harden had a true shooting percentage of 54.1. Russ, 47.6. That means he dominates the ball, and it's not good. His biggest problem in the playoffs is not knowing when to turn it off. Russ often tries to do everything himself, and in the biggest games, team basketball wins out unless your name is Michael Jordan. So, while Russ does put up a lot of stats, it's just not winning basketball. So why would a contender want that? They wouldn't. Unless Russ is in the perfect situation. We'll jump into the top 5 trades, but first I want to touch on his trade value. It's actually been lower than it is right now. Last year in the bubble, he was embarrassing for the Rockets, but Russ bounced back in DC, putting up 22 points and a career-high 12 assists in 65 of 72 games. So that is why this video had to be made. Somebody could look at last season and convince themselves Russ works for them. So let's jump into the top 5 Westbrook trades. And at number 5 is the Raptors trading Kyle Lowry for Russell Westbrook and a 2022 first. This deal means that the Wizards want to win now. They bring in Lowry on a new 2+1 contract that aligns with Bradley Beal. Unlike Russ, Lowry is a proven winner in the East playoffs, and he would raise the Wizards' ceiling. The Raptors make this deal to sweeten their rebuild. See, I think in my latest mock draft that the Raptors should take Jalen Suggs at number 4. That is Lowry's long-term replacement. Russ can be there to mentor him for 2 seasons, but they also get DC's first-round pick next year, another prospect if it lands in the lottery. Our number 4 trade, the Clippers trade RAJON, RONDO, KENNARD, and Reggie Jackson for Russ. The Wizards have to accept all the Clips' bad contracts here, but they do get Reggie Jackson, who's been really good in the playoffs. The Clippers do this because they need a point guard who can set the table, and Russ is a shot creator, if nothing else, who can also score at the rim. His lack of a shot is a big problem, but the Clippers have Serge Ibaka. Serge is a 5 who can stretch the floor, which helps in lineups with Westbrook, though sharing the floor with Zubats would be a problem. The big issue, though, would be the postseason. See, Russ would have to defer to Kawhi and Paul George on offense. We've never seen him do that to a large degree, but the Clippers could talk themselves into it. Our number 3 trade, the Blazers deal Damian Lillard and the disgruntled JUSUF NURKIC for Westbrook, Rui Hachimura, Daniel Gafford, Deni Avdija, and 3 firsts. This is the Wizards dumping Russ along with their entire future for Damian Lillard. They've got a core now of Dame, Beal, Howell Neto, Davis Bertans, and Nurkic. I know that's light on defense, but definitely a contender in the East. The Blazers do this to cash in their superstar for a fat package of both picks and prospects. Avdija was disappointing, but it's only been one season, and I was really impressed by Rui's growth, especially in transition. Gafford showed after the trade from Chicago he is good enough to be a starting center. Our number 2 trade, the Lakers deal Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol, and Kyle Kuzma for Westbrook and Davis Bertans. The Wizards flip Russ for a much cheaper but effective point guard in Schroeder, plus another young prospect to build with in Kuzma. On the Lakers, Bertans is another shooter LA desperately needs, especially in the postseason, but the big issue they'll have to work out is with Russ. Now, the only way this works is if Westbrook agrees to come off the bench. I'm not saying he's got to do it every game, but one of the Lakers' biggest problems is winning minutes when LeBron sits. Russ would be the best bench player in the league, and maybe he does that to win a ring. What really matters is who closes games anyway, and Westbrook would have to be okay with not always being out there. This feels really unlikely, I know, but if it happens, the Lakers would win big. But our number 1 trade is a 3-team deal. Norvel Pelle and Ben Simmons to the Wizards, Davis Bertans, Hachimura, and Ish Smith to the Sixers, plus Russell Westbrook to the Knicks. This happens if the Wizards want to swap Russ for Ben Simmons, but the problem is the Sixers don't need a point guard who can't shoot for another point guard that can't shoot, so they have to include a 3rd team. That is the Knicks, and they take on Russ because they can afford him with all their cap space, and their biggest problem last year was offense. Russ would be a huge bump for the Knicks' regular season offense, and his intensity matches perfectly with Tom Thibodeau. The Wizards give up real assets here with Bertans and Hachimura, but Ben Simmons still has more trade value than Russ. I know giving up Rui hurts, but if DC is serious about winning now with Bradley Beal, this makes sense. Let me know if you think any of these trades are realistic or all of them are crazy, but I think the key for Russ is finding a team desperate enough to bring him on to try to channel his superpowers. No one's done it so far in his career, but Russ showed enough last year for another team to give it one last try. Earlier, I mentioned the mock draft 3.0. We finally know the draft lottery order, so check out that video here.